Coffee, a podcast discovering your career, community, and culture.
My name is Genesis Serrano, and today we will be interviewing the director of Trio SSS, Christina Dilks, and we will be discussing the way that media has portrayed disabilities and how, in particularly, it has affected hers.
So, you want me to give you a little bit of an info on it?
Yes.
Sure. So, I am a severe asthmatic. I was diagnosed when I was 4. By the time I hit 6th grade, I was in and out of the hospital so much that I was on home instruction through the school district. I stayed on and off of home instruction until I graduated 12th grade. And then after that, I was a student with the Office of Disabilities in both my undergraduate and my graduate schools, so both at William Patterson University and at NYU.
Then I go on to ask Dilks if she believes that media has caused her condition to be taken less seriously than it should.
So I remember watching, and this might be too young for you, I was watching this 80s movie, Goonies. And in the Goonies, the main character, Mikey, had, he called it his puffer, right? And that was his asthma inhaler. Well, first off, it was Primatene Mist, so that wasn't like a real inhaler. And second of all, everybody kind of made a little fun of it in the beginning of the movie. Like made fun of, how he could get sick and his mom coddled him. But then through the movie, he did all these stunts and all these like really hard and physical things. And there were all things that, as an asthmatic, watching an asthmatic, I'm like, he never checks for an inhaler. He never has problems. It never showed him as a real asthmatic. And then I think at the end of the movie, and this is one of the things I still remember, at the end of the movie, he goes to use his inhaler and he goes to puff it and he looks at it and he goes, who needs it? And he throws it away. And that's just supposed to be a funny, a funny little interlude in the movie. But for me, what it really showed is that asthma was almost like a choice. When he was done, who needs it? He could just throw it away and his life would be totally fine. And for me, that's not the way it was. A lot of people would say, oh, you just don't want to take gym, or you don't like to run, or you don't like to exercise. But no, there's a lot of aspects of asthma, and some of it is exercise induced, or there are times when you can't breathe and you can't do a lot of the things other people do. And the media does portray it as at least an illness or a chronic illness that is basically inconsequential. And that was very hard for me. I will tell you, one of the defining factors in my life, it's not technically the media, but it's literature. Mm-hmm. We had to read Lord of the Flies by William Golding in high school. And one of the main characters is named Piggy. And Piggy is like a pasty, doughy, chunky boy who wears glasses and has asthma. They didn't know how to say asthma in the book. They say asthma, right? So he's chunky, he's got glasses, and he's the smartest out of all of them. He's the one that keeps telling the boys who are stranded on the island that they have to keep the fire going and that they have to have order in the society. So he's really, if we're thinking about this like an English professor, he's actually the representation of the society that they're abandoning. And you know what they do? They throw a rock and smash his head apart. So they kill Piggy, right? So now they kill me, and we're in class, and our teacher's going through the characters, and she says, this character is, I don't know if she said fat or chunky, and he has glasses, and he has asthma, and one of my best friends to this day is still my best friend. Dan turned around and said, oh my gosh, Christina is Piggy. And it crushed me because they all made fun of him in the book. they were kind of making fun of him in class, and then it was me, and they kill him at the end. So it's always kind of a joke. Joke. I mean, it's not a joke for me when I'm falling asleep and turning, blue and have to be rushed to the hospital because I'm dying. But people don't really see that part of asthma. They just see the, inhaler.
I've seen it like as like only the nerd or something. It's always like the butt of the joke, I guess. Like the nerd has.
It's like that added little ha ha ha. The nerdy kid takes out his little inhaler, or they push him to the ground and his inhaler falls out. Yeah. So yes, they definitely portray it as something that's a choice or an excuse or a joke.
Yeah, definitely. What would you personally like to see media do differently, like either literature or like television or anything, do differently to tell like your story and like people like you, like a better representation of what you go through and what people like you go through?
I feel like that when the media portrays someone who has a disability, they kind of pigeonhole them. It either becomes their entire representation. Oh, look, it's the poor girl in the wheelchair, or they characterize them as like, oh, look how great. Even though this person has XYZ, they can still do ABC. Like, aren't we proud of them? And so it's kind of mocking the way we show people who are disabled. It's not the only part of our personalities. I mean, it definitely, being an asthmatic and then being such a severe asthmatic that I was in and out of the hospital and on and off of home instruction. I did my schooling a little different than everyone else. I interacted with way more adults than I would have normally in, hospital and medical settings. I did a lot of my schoolwork by myself at my own pace. It changed who I am, but it's not the only thing that I am. So I would really love to see that when we have characters, that we can have real, full characters, dynamic, changing characters that just so happen to be disabled in some way, shape, or form. Or just, and we don't have to pity them. We don't have to make fun of them. We don't have to feel like you applaud every little thing they do, because we're real people. It would be awesome if, a sitcom had a random, girl or a random woman in it who was an asthmatic, and that was, a running theme. Sometimes, she's sick, she's home, she's this. There's, a problem, but they're still people.
This concludes this podcast episode. Hopefully we could take with us that as a society we need to do better in the way that we portray our characters that happen to have disabilities. Hopefully one day we're able to see characters living their daily lives and their defining characteristic isn't their disability.